Like right now, first of all, let me get a gauge. Junior, senior, junior, junior, senior. All right. You got seniors? Seniors. Okay. Got a good crowd. Are you guys college bound? Do you feel like you're gonna go on? No. I see a lot of shaking heads. Right. So I'm with you. I'm one of you. We're all cut from the same cloth. I got about my freshman year and started to struggle in high school. I was really good in grade school, right? I had great grade, loved school, loved hanging out with my friends, got into high school, typical adolescent stuff that maybe you've experienced, maybe you haven't, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I got disinterested in school, and I did not have a lot of support at home. Kind of, I won't get into a super lot of details, but kind of a broken home, right? My dad kind of did his own thing, and I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so being the youngest, right, you get away with a lot of stuff, right? So you watch your older siblings and you go, haha, I'm not going to do that, and if they got in trouble for that, I'll figure out a different way and all of that stuff. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't, involved in like crime and drugs and stuff like that. I just got to a point in my school career where I got disinterested and I started failing things like math class. I excelled in things like history and those kinds of things. So the things I was interested in engaged me in school, and I did really well at those. The things like math that I didn't like to do, I kind of cut myself off from those things. And I eventually ended up just like ditching class, not going to school. I had better things to do. I had a 1972 VW bus my junior year, right? And my big thing was like I'd pull up in the morning, open the sliding door, and wave all my friends, like, let's go to the beach. And that was pretty much my senior year. Like I had my counselor told me I had the most consecutive school days cut from school. But the weird thing is they didn't like suspend me. They didn't expel me. They just kept me kind of going in this loop, right? Where I was still on the books, but I wasn't doing the work, right? So eventually, this would be 1986, at 16 years old. I lied on a job application, and I applied at a job at a construction company. Really didn't know what they were doing. I knew that they were brick masons, right? But I didn't know the job I was applying for. And it was a hod carrier. You guys know what that is? It sounds weird, right? Well, hod carrier simply is a bricklayer's assistant, right? Makes sense, except for I spent nearly 2 years in that job every single day with guys up on a wall laying bricks, yelling at me, screaming at me. I had to rush around. I didn't get lunch hours because I couldn't keep up with the work and all that stuff. But it was like trial by fire. Like, here's the construction industry, right? Ta-da! You got to do this. Either you make it or break it, kind of deal. And I stuck it out for about 2 years, and it was a great experience for me. I eventually got out of laying brick and being a hod carrier and got into carpentry, mostly because I didn't want to work that hard. Hod carrier carrying cinder block bricks like 4 at a time, and I'm a skinny kid, right? And my fingers were bleeding because it's concrete, and I'd have to go and mix the mud that they put in with lye, and that would get in my fingers, and literally some nights I'd go home and I would cry, right? They thought I was an adult. I told them I was 18, but I was a 16-year-old kid, man, and I hurt every day, this skinny kid, right? And so I got with a friend who was in carpentry, and I said, hey, can I come work on your crew? And that was a career change for me because carpentry, working with wood, was something I was familiar with. It's something my dad did for a long time. And so that was an easy transition. Long story short, in the carpentry industry, I was able to work my way up. And eventually, before I left that industry, I was an inspector. All without going to college, right? And I was having conversations on job sites with architects who spent years and years in college, and I would be on job sites on $8 million homes that I was in charge of, and arguing with them, these college degree guys, about how their drawings don't work with my measuring tape, right? And one day that conversation was going down. There's a beautiful home up in the Saratoga Hills, very expensive. I mean, just the front door was like 12 feet tall and made of cherry wood. Everything was custom. Theater downstairs, and it was kind of cool. And I liked that job, working on that job. But the architect was on site every day because this was like the owner of the house was building it. So they wanted to put in skylights in this radius patio, so it's round. That's a radius, right? And when you have a radius, it has spokes, like a wagon wheel, right? But he wanted to put in square skylights. And I argued with him, it's not gonna work, I have to cut it out. He said, no, 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 because he went to college and he knows all of this stuff. And he has a pencil and a measuring tape and a ruler and all that stuff, and I was just wrong. And I was adamant, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, and I had to go up and show them. And finally, the superintendent on that job site came out that day, and in front of everybody, told everybody on the crew, guys I was in charge of, that I need to shut my mouth, I'm not qualified, because I don't even have a high school diploma. And man, that was a pressure. I realized right then I'm never, ever, ever going to be the guy that gets to sit in the trailer on 100-degree days with the air conditioner running while everybody's out there sweating and working and doing their thing. I realized this is my ceiling. I am never going to get any higher than this. I knew I didn't need college. I had gotten this far. But I absolutely needed that high school diploma. So eventually, I went back, got my high school diploma, and that opened up whole new opportunities for me. I was able to leave the construction industry and not work so hard. I mean, I'm 50 now. Can you imagine having to be bags on and driving nails at 50 years old? The construction industry will really abuse your body if you let it, right? And I let it. So I took a career change, and one of the things I was interested in high school was art, right? So I took that interest in art, turned it into photography, got into film. That led me into a marketing career, and ta-da, here I am. I was ultimately a marketing specialist for the County Office of Education, and I'm a CTE coordinator, Career and Technical Education Program Coordinator. So those programs that I'm in charge of, I'm going to talk to you about today, okay? So I just wanted to share a little bit about me. The moral of that story is stay in school, kids. Because that high school diploma, you may not think it's worth that piece of paper now, but that high school diploma down the road is a big, big help. Statistics say you'll earn 30% more money over your lifetime if you have a high school diploma as if you didn't. And 30% is significant over your lifetime. So, programs I'm going to talk to you about. Primarily, I'm going to concentrate on the most in-demand jobs right now. CTE is ultimately job training, and that is what we do in my division, which is educational options. The two industries I want to talk to you about mostly today are the construction industry, that I know a lot about, and the manufacturing industry that recently, over the last 5 years, I have learned a great deal about. Stuff I didn't know. All of our programs are housed in the Tom Chagnon Education Center, right? That's right downtown. It's the old Modesto B building, actually. We take up an entire city block. It's 155,000 square feet. In the back side of the building, we have Bolt Institute, and well, the whole building houses our education options, our Comeback Kids program, and that's actually a program that similar program that I used to go back and get my high school diploma after I left school. So Comeback Kids are for adults who lack the high school diploma. Child and Family Services in this building, our Career Pathways office, Northern California Construction Training, and Valley Occupational Learning and Technology, or Bolt Institute. Have you guys heard about Bolt Institute? I got a nod over here. Nope, you guys haven't? All right, well, you guys are in for some good information, because Bolt Institute is an award-winning program here in this building. Oops, there we go. Oh, back up one. So the first thing, I'll start with construction, and I gave you a kind of packet there, and I got a lot of flyers. Let me preface all of this by saying these programs that I'm talking to you about are for adults, 18 and over, right? So you seniors, if you're not college bound and you're interested in another career, I have tons of information for you. When you're done here, I call it banging out. When you bang out of high school and you're ready to go on to your summer, I have programs that I can introduce you to that get you on a fast track to a really great career with benefits and high pay as well. The first I'm going to talk to you about is Northern California Construction Training. That's NCCT is what we call it. Everything's an acronym at SCO. Even SCO's an acronym, right? County Office, Stanislaus County Office of Education, SCO. So they shorten everything. This is a 6-month pre-apprenticeship training program. Do you guys know what an apprenticeship is? You familiar with that? Anybody not know what an apprenticeship is? Okay. Apprenticeship works like this. You want to get into a construction trade. Let's say you want to be an electrician, which is actually one of the longer apprenticeships. If you wanted to be an electrician, you're going to go and apply at a company, and they're going to say, we're a union shop, so you have to be an apprentice. So they'll hire you, and you begin paying your union dues. Okay? The union will take your dues, the money that's out of your check, to support you and other folks in your training. And what you do is you go and work on the job Monday through Friday, and then a couple of nights a week, they're going to send you to classes to learn to be a better electrician. And you'll do that for about 2 to 3 years. An electrician, I think it's much longer than that, probably 5 years. Until you journey on, and then you become a journeyman. So that is your apprenticeship journey. In carpentry, it's a 2-year apprenticeship, and then you become a journeyman. An electrician, I think it's a 5-year apprenticeship. You have to be an apprentice for 5 years, and the reason for that is electricity will kill you, right? Not like hammers and nails won't kill you, but that's a much more graphic death than just being shocked, I'm sure, right? So there are industries within construction or trades within construction where they have a union, but the apprenticeship model is different, right? Like the Masons Union, I didn't have to take a test, and I really didn't have to join. Once I got a job carrying hod, I was automatically an apprentice. And so you don't have to pre-qualify for those things. What this program will do, will walk you through in 6 months. We'll walk you through things like safety, measurements and blueprint reading, carpentry, cement work, electrical, plumbing, basic HVAC, which is heating and air and ventilation. You get into painting and landscaping. They even do photovoltaics, which is solar energy, right? Which is a huge and booming industry right now. As a matter of fact, we're doing a boot camp, and I put it in your packet for adults. For 2 weeks, it's free training. You're going to come and learn to install and remove these systems, because right now in the state of California, there is a law that was just passed a few weeks ago that says every multifamily dwelling in the state of California has to have solar energy on it. So solar power companies are popping up everywhere, and they're hiring people like mad. Last year we did this. It's coming up for us. This new boot camp is coming up in the next 2 weeks. Last year we did it. We had like 20 or 30 guys in the program. Every single one of them were hired out after 2 weeks of training. And they just travel around the state, install solar power on multifamily dwelling, be like a duplex or an apartment complex, things like that, right? And we know that in California, those laws are going to translate to like single-family homes as well. So that's an incredibly booming industry. And you get to work outside, you get to work with your hands, and you get to be in the construction industry. So this is a very, very cool program. You can earn all of these certifications in this program, which are helpful if you're going through an apprenticeship, or because this is a pre-apprenticeship. When you go to formally apply for the apprenticeship program, you get to lay out all of these certifications and say, I've done all of this stuff already. And what that does for you is that somebody in the line is ahead of you, right? Because what they do in the union, in the apprentice, they open their roll books. So they only accept a certain number of people each time they open their roll books. So let's say they accept, hypothetically, 30 people. And you're number 31 in line, right? But the guy before you, number 30, doesn't have these certifications, or isn't prepared to take the test, or doesn't have his application all together, right? He gets bumped, you get in. Very, very competitive sometimes to get into those unions. And I know recently you have the IBEW here, that's the electricians union. I don't know if any of you sat in on that talk, but those, they only take like 135 guys at a time, and that's for the entire state. These jobs are booming in unions. The Department of Apprenticeship Standards has vowed, promised, they have sworn up and down that they're going to add 100,000 new apprenticeships over the next 10 years. So if your construction trade interests you and you like to work with your hands, this is a great way to get started. You're going to learn ladder safety and fall protection, confined entry space, you get your basic first aid and CPR, work zone safety and traffic control. Wouldn't it be great to be in the Caltrans union, right? And be the guy that holds that sign or leans on a shovel at like 25 bucks an hour all day? That's a pretty good gig, right? Because you have Work zone safety and traffic control certification, that's a bump up to get right in there. You get OSHA 8 and OSHA 10, and OSHA is the organization in the state of California that manages safety on job sites and in facilities. 40-hour HAZWOPER, that's actually what this is. Well, these guys wearing gas masks here. You can't see that. And what HAZWOPER is hazardous materials handling. So you know, recently we had the fires up in Northern California, the whole town of Paradise burned, right? Before they could come back in and rebuild any of those homes, they had to be cleaned up with guys that have HAZWOPER certification, right? So we had students go through our program, get HAZWOPER certified. They got jobs with those guys up there, and because everything burned down, they were paid a per diem, $500 a day. $500 a day just to go up there, stay in a hotel room, eat catered food, and then clean up the job sites. That's a pretty good gig. You can also get photovoltaics, like I said, 1 and 2. We also have forklift certification. In this county, forklift operators, certified forklift operators can make anywhere from $13 to $22 an hour, just if you know how to drive a forklift. This program, for free, is worth that certification in the end. If you don't have a forklift certification, well, if you have a forklift certification, you can pretty much get a seasonal job anywhere, right? You don't have to rely on that college degree in a field of study that may not be in demand, right? OSHA, Department of Transportation, and then Hilti Powder Actuated, which is a tool. It's like a hammer, but it shoots nails through concrete. You have to be certified to use that as well. You can see some pictures here of folks working. The cool part is this is inside our 155,000 square foot facility. So like, unlike the construction industry, when 3 drops of rain fall in a circle, everybody packs up their stuff and they go home, right? Which is kind of cool for the construction industry. If you want a day off, you just pray for rain. Or sometimes you draw a circle on the ground and everybody sees that they can spin in it and then convince your superintendent that it's raining that day. You get the day off. Doesn't always work out. But this is inside, so you'll never have a rained out day, right? And so they actually build the structure, and you can see them doing forklift. Here's photovoltaics at the top there. And then there's some classroom instruction as well. Mostly stuff like reading a tape measure and blueprints and things like that. But they do run over like remedial math and construction terminology and things like that as well. This is a very, very cool program, 100% free. So if something like that interests you, this is a great way to explore. Maybe you're not committed. Maybe you're like, I don't know, construction sounds like it's pretty hard. Kevin said he worked his butt off and it didn't sound so fun. You can come for 6 months and see if you dig it. If you don't dig it, bang out and go try something else, right? Guarantee if you do this for 6 months, you're going to walk away with life skills. Even if you're a homeowner down the way, you're going to be like, I can change that wall socket. I did this in that class. Those are life skills that are important to everybody. Like I said, 6 months program. It's a pre-apprenticeship, meaning that they're going to give you everything you need to go stand in that line when the unions open their roll books. You're going to have everything you need, all the paperwork. You're going to be prepared to sit down and take that test and pass that test and get into the construction training, or excuse me, the apprenticeship trade of your choice. And there are 22 construction trades. I didn't even know that was that many, and I probably spent 20 years in the construction trades. I didn't even know there was 22. Technology is changing though, and is bringing all those things different. Like they're 3D printing houses now, which is kind of cool, right? They have like their power tools now, which started as hand tools, hand saws and things like that. A lot of power tools are controlled by apps as well, and I'll get into technology a little bit later. The important thing here is that program's 100% free, so if it's something you want to explore, great idea. This is the program that I work the closest with. This is Volt Institute, and it is focused wholly and completely on the manufacturing industry, right? We are an ag-centric community, right? You guys drive down the road, you see farms, right? Anybody really, raise his hand back here. See farms. Most people, and I grew up here, right? Most people never make the connection of the almonds that we see on the tree as we're driving down the road and that can on the shelf, right? Another important industry, the wine industry around here. You drive around, West Turlock or even West Modesto area, you'll see acres and acres and acres of vineyards, right? Most people don't make the connection of the grape that's on the vine to the bottle that's on the shelf, right? Which is a huge, we have the world's largest wine producer in our community. It's one of the largest employers in our community. Anybody know who that is?
Gallo.
Gallo, that's correct.
My
Right?
dad works in the plant.
Does he work at Gallo? What does he do then?
I work with driver.
Forklift driver, right? It's a great skill to have. I've already talked about that. So the biggest need in the manufacturing industry for us is mostly food-based manufacturing because we're an ag-centric community. But there are some really cool companies out there that even I didn't even know about 3 years ago. Like we have a company here, right here in Modesto called Westland Technologies. They make sound dampening panels for the outsides of submarines for the U.S. Navy. We have a defense contractor and it's right downtown and nobody knows. It's like, shh, nobody even knows they exist. And they work with like 3D printing and they make urethanes and rubbers and things like that so they can put on these titanium panels so that when the submarine's going silently through the water, they don't ping and make other submarines go, aha, there you are, right? There are fabrication shops that are part of manufacturing. There are certainly aerospace and technology that's developing and all of that. And we're working hard, a whole bunch of people in this community are working hard to convince a lot of companies that are sitting out in the Bay Area where we know most people have to get in their cars every day and drive for 4 hours just to go work 8 hours, right? That's kind of sucky, right? You have to drive 4 to work 8, right? What would you do if you had 4 extra hours of your time per day?
You're asking me, right?
I'll ask you.
Oh.
Name one thing you would do if I was able to give you 4 extra hours of your day.
Like a 28-hour day.
Right? Not a 28, you only got 24 hours, right?
I thought you were like changing the laws of physics.
There you go. What would you do if you had 4 extra hours? Would you sleep in? I know I would.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I would sleep in. Maybe spend time with my kids, right? Maybe take a break. Maybe actually have a lunch hour, right? So I'm not eating in my car trying to get from A to B, that kind of thing. It is a total myth that you have to drive over the Altamont to make enough money to live in the valley. That's a complete myth. They're paying the same wage over there than they are here. And you don't have to take a bus to catch the train to get over there, and you don't have to get in your car and waste all that expensive gas and all that stuff. Don't buy into that when you graduate high school. Those jobs are here, and there's a whole bunch of people in this community that are talking to those companies to convince them to move out here and move their entire facility out here because their employees live here. If you had 4 extra hours in your day, would you spend it with family? Would you just sit around and play video games and like do your own thing and like veg out so that you had some personal wellness? I know I would do that stuff. So what we're trying to do is upskill the local community so that they qualify for those jobs in manufacturing. That's ultimately what Volt Institute is about. And the way that we do that is we have partnered with Opportunity Stanislaus, and they're an economic development nonprofit. Those are the folks that are going out and talking to those companies and saying, hey, you know, when we have these wildfires, PG&E shuts off your power, right? Because they got to protect all forests and all that stuff, right? Because we know how bad that is. Guess what? Out here in the valley, we got MID, not PG&E, and they won't turn off your power. So why don't you move your plant out here? And they go, oh, that's not a bad idea. And we go, you know what? Real estate is cheaper out here per square footage. You can move your whole facility, pay less in taxes. And they go, that's a pretty good idea, right? So these folks are working really hard to convince those companies to bring us more jobs, and the County Office of Education has partnered with them to train folks at Volt Institute. The cool part is, just 3 years after Volt Institute was created and implemented, we won an award from the governor of the state of California. This is one of the top 3 programs in the state, and it's because of our training model. And our training model, I'm going to skip through a couple of slides so I don't get jammed up here. I might go back to some of these, but our training model is because we are, I skipped the slide. We are connected directly, maybe I don't even have the slide in here. Directly with industry. We're partnered, thank you. We're partnered with about 50 local manufacturers, companies like Gallo, Pacific Southwest Container, Del Monte, Foster Farms, Crystal Creamery. These are brand names that you see on the store shelves. Their biggest demand in skilled labor are the mechanics that keep the equipment up and running. if the equipment breaks down and there's no mechanic to fix it, nobody else can work. Forklift driver might as well go home. If Gallo can't fill bottles of wine and put them on a pallet, there's nothing for anybody else to do, right? So their biggest demand is maintenance mechanics. So we developed this program that is 33 weeks long. I'm not going to show you this slide because that is just a bunch of words. We're training specifically industrial maintenance mechanics. It is a 33-week program that takes you through this course, mechanical at the top here. Mechanical drive systems, pumps, print reading, AC/DC electrical. You get an introduction to programmable logic controls, and that's where that automation is coming in. Things like robots. Like if you've seen video of Tesla, they've got all those robots down the road that weld cars and stuff. Somebody's still got to repair those robots. Even though the robots, theoretically, is replacing a guy or a woman who was there assembling those parts and welding those things, then now the best job to have is be the guy that fixes the robots, right? So that's what we're preparing folks for. You also get to cover rigging and machine tools and production assembly and welding as well. So we've taken a full skill set of foundational skills to make somebody a maintenance mechanic and put them together in this program, and it's all been okayed by our industry partners. They say these are the skills that we need our maintenance mechanics to know. We break it down into 3 11-week semesters, and it's a self-paced program. You're going to get some soft skills in this as well, and I'm speeding up here so I don't run out of time. This is our programmable logic controls. The cool part about it, it's 8 months or less to certification. These are specific jobs for the manufacturing industry. Tuition for this program, only $7,550. That is not a lot of money for this kind of training. We're about half of what other schools in the area are charging. And that's because we're a nonprofit, Opportunity Stanislaus, and the County Office of Education, so we use a lot of grant money to make things like this happen. And we have ways for you to finance that $7,500 with a local credit union that will help you build your credit and give you financial literacy along the way. And then when you're a mechanic, 5 years from now, you want to buy a truck or a house or get married or something like that, they're already your partners to help you get a loan for those bigger things in life as well. So we've worked all of that out. You only have to come to school 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. That's the biggest selling point, right? When I was your age in high school, if they told me I only had to come to school for 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, I'd have probably showed up. I wouldn't have to cut class, right? About half of this program is reading. You're going to be reading on a computer, and it's stuff you can access at home. So in that 12 hours a week, that 3 hours a week, or 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, that's 12 hours you're on my campus at Volt Institute. If you can do the theory and study work at home, you can optimize that 12 hours a week, and when you come to school, you're only doing the hands-on stuff. And we find that students are most successful in that. One of the coolest part about this whole program, these are in-demand and high-paying jobs, and we have a 96% job placement rate with companies like Gallo, Pacific Southwest Container, Crystal Creamery, P&F Metals, Liberty Packing. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If you flip over that packet that I gave you, that's about a fraction of the companies. Very back page, very back cover. That's about a fraction of the companies that we're directly involved with. And you can see there's hospitals there as well, right? So if you don't feel like you want to be out there stuffing grapes in a bottle or olives in a jar or almonds in a can, you can get a job in the medical field as well, being facilities maintenance. So if you don't think 8 months is your deal, and again, you're not committed, when you bang out of high school, I have a 9-week program called Certified Production Technician. Again, we'll give you a whole set of life skills where you're going to get safety, quality practices and measurements, manufacturing processes and productions, and maintenance awareness. So this is like our big program condensed down to 9 weeks. And if you dig it and you like it, we can get you a job directly with companies. That's because our placement rate is so high. And we're not going through the HR department typically. We're calling up the CEOs of these companies and saying, I got a great student, did really well in this class. Do you want to see his resume? And they go, sure, yeah, I'd love to see his resume, right? A company like P&F Metals, we sit down with the CEO, they actually take our students to lunch, and he gets to know them, right? And then if he likes you, he offers you a job on the spot. And if he puts you to work in the field, right? Like sometimes he has to send folks to Reno to do some welding or something like that. He puts you on his private plane and flies you out there and puts you up in a hotel room, right? Those are the relationships that we have with industry, right? And why our placement rate is so high at Volt Institute. So I'm going really, really fast, and I'm going to close out here. To your benefit, 5 minutes, cool. To your benefit, the future is happening right now. Our motto at Volt Institute is take charge of your future, right? The future is happening right now. Automation is happening, right? It's being increased exponentially because of this pandemic. There's a lot of companies that are like, well, I've got great employees. I don't know if I want to switch over to automation and all of this. Well, guess what? 2 years ago, the government said, don't go to work. We'll pay you to stay home. Unfortunately, there's still a whole bunch of people that are still staying home. And what that's done for the manufacturing industry has caused them to go, wow, we've got to replace it. We can't be productive. We've got to replace them with something. And they're going to go to automation. And automation is creeping in everywhere. In your lifetime, now, last September, 50 years ago, we celebrated Star Trek. You guys know what Star Trek is, right? Shatner just got on the SpaceX thing or whatever and went to space, which is kind of cool, my generation. 50 years ago, we didn't even have cell phones, right? 1994, I think I got my first cell phone, Motorola. It was like that brick thing that you guys joke about, right? And all it did was make phone calls and I could leave a message, right? I live on my phone now, right? So automation and technology is creeping into everything. In the next 5 to 10 years, truck driving industry is going to be no more because we're moving towards autonomous trucks and things like that. So the cool part about our program is we see that coming. We've been talking to folks. We're implementing programs like advanced electrical, which is coupled with automation, robotics, and mechatronics, which is that automation in a factory setting. And this stuff will be available online to the general public starting next January. So, when you graduate, you want to come kick the tires at Volt Institute, I'm going to be able to show you this stuff and get you through this program, and again, get you a great job in manufacturing, if that's your desire. We're moving towards NIMS duty areas, and I will just close out here with probably a minute and a half left with the website that I encourage you to look at, voltinstitute.com. The phone number, 566-9102, rings through to my cell phone, right? I'm not going to give you my cell phone number. I get creepy texts in the middle of the night. But you can call that number and you can get me directly if you're interested. Or if you maybe are not ready, but you know somebody, an adult or somebody, maybe your parents that are looking for new training, send them my way. I am happy to take care of them and help them out and get them some training and get them a great career. So we'll close out with that. Thank you guys so much for your attention. I got some stickers for you in there in your packet. There's a pin from Volt and our course catalog. There's several other programs that I didn't have the opportunity to talk about. Look at those flyers. If you have any questions, give me a call. Thank you guys.